Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, I have another player, McGravy, formerly Envision, formerly Team MV, Florida Mayhem, including the winning Florida Mayhem, of course, of the last year of the Overwatch League in 2023. How's it going?
Doing good. Once you start listing off teams, don't really realize how long you've been a part of a scene until you start talking about it. You said Team Envy, and that's been like 6 years ago.
Something
So yeah,
ridiculous.
I've been around for a while. It's hard to believe.
I did want to see if you recognize a couple of these, but this is August 14th of 2016. From CS:GO to Overwatch, watch out for me and Frame One coming up in the scene. Who and what is Frame One?
Okay, so I started playing. I would say Counter Strike was my first like esport that I ever took seriously. I had done like really old stuff like Modern Warfare 2 on the Xbox 360, like quick scoping. I would say actually that's probably the first thing I ever did for esports was like competitive quick scoping on Modern Warfare 2. And I didn't. I think at the time I never realized that was esports. I didn't know what it was called. It was just something I did because I liked quick scoping as a kid. So it kind of started with Call of Duty. And then I built my first computer. I started playing Counter Strike, and I was playing with Reprise, who he never really made as a player. He was more of a coach, and he ended up I think he coached mainly for the Valiant when I was on Valiant season 2 and season 3. I don't remember. I think he did. I think he was like head coach of London for
Oh, really?
like not long. It was something like that. But yeah, I was playing Counter Strike with Reprise, and this cartoonish first person shooter came out, and he was like, "Yo, you really got to get this right. You're really good. I know you'll be good at." And I looked at it and I was like, it looks like Borderlands, man. It looks like cartoonish. It's like that's not like I'm playing Counter Strike. It feels like it's the complete opposite of like what Counter Strike was at the time. And so I was like, I don't know. And then he finally got me to play the open beta, and I think I ended up playing like Widow the entire time just
Oh,
because I
okay.
was an opper in CS:GO. And I don't know, like I don't know if it's because I don't remember it, but it never really clicked for me. Like it wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is the game I need to play. It was just something I kept doing, and I think Reprise like kept nagging me to do it. And it wasn't like I never had like this huge like, oh my god, I love this game moment. It was just I kept playing, and then suddenly it was my game. It wasn't like a snap of the fingers. Oh yeah, Overwatch is what I want to do. But yeah, Frame One was the team. It was. I couldn't tell you the full roster. I know it was me, Reprise, and a player called Midwest,
Okay.
and the others I could not. It's been too long, man. It's like it's been too long. What? It's like 8 years ago.
Yeah,
Like,
2016. Yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah.
way too long ago. So,
Eight whole years.
the fact that I even know two of the people that was on the team is, I would say, a miracle for me. 8 years is so long. But yeah, that's kind of the beginnings of my Overwatch career.
Um, this is also kind of a beginnings as well. September 5th, so this is like a month after 2016. How does a rank 48 Bastion main make it into my comp games? Blizzard, please. What?
I mean, dude, I'm trying to even think about like what even was Bastion back then. Like, it wasn't Bastion with the shield because I know in
No,
the beta
that wasn't even in beta, I don't think, was
that
it?
was closed beta, I believe,
Yeah,
is when they
right.
had the Bastion with the shield. So I think like I'm not even sure what kind of version of Bastion that was. That might have been the Bastion that didn't have tank form or anything. That was just like the Bastion where you popped your turret form and you couldn't move and there was no
Yep.
shield. So I can understand why I was mad, to be honest.
A rank 48 Bastion player
Yeah,
in
because
your
back
in your
then I think
games.
the meta was it was like Cass Genji or something like that. Um, but yeah, I mean, Bastion mains have been plaguing the rank servers since 2016.
All goofy one tricks have, to be fair.
Yeah, true, true.
When was the point when you realized you're pretty good? Did you jump in? Obviously, you're pretty good at CS:GO. Like, did you jump in and you were immediately like top rank or like near high rank?
Um, okay, so season one, the very first ever competitive season, the ranking was unique. That was the only one because season one is when they still had coin flips. That's what I
Yep.
remember about season one. There was still coin flips for overtime. And then the ranking system, I think it was like a 1 through 100 system. And I think like, I'm trying to think what the number was for like top 500. It was like 78.
Right.
And I think I was 76. So I think I was like right on the cusp of being good. And then it was season 2 is where I started peaking like top 10 or like near top 10 playing DPS. And I was mainly like a Cassidy soldier player. Because that was what everybody played. Because
yeah,
like me, I think a lot of people came from other FPSs. So people were drawn to the Cassidys, the Widows, the soldiers. Everybody wanted to play Hitscan. Everybody, including me. Like you ask like 80% of the people who went pro, and I think almost all of them will say that they wanted to start playing like Hitscan or like Genji or Pharah, anything like that. Everybody wanted to be a DPS player, and everybody still wants to be a DPS player. So
yeah, that's the common trend. It's funny.
Yeah.
Seeing all the players from other games jump in, instantly go DPS, like tank role and support just doesn't exist. And those roles were so different too back then, especially like support. They're not doing as much damage as they are now. Like, there's no way compared to DPS.
No, I mean, back then, like Mercy Lucio was a viable support duo. Like you would play like Pharah, Mercy, Lucio, and there'd be like no healing. You'd be playing like Winston Diva, and you'd have a Mercy Lucio, and you just would never get healed. Like you would just have to like cower the entire time while they DPS did everything.
When you came from CS, maybe that's what kind of, like you said, you're an op player, so you're like, okay, I play op, I'm gonna play Widowmaker. How far like up the scale of tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 CS did you kind of make it?
So for the people that are familiar with CS, like I was playing ESEA, and I think ESEA is still a thing. I don't know if it's under the ESEA name.
It is still, yeah.
But I was playing in intermediate, and there's like it's like a tiered system. So like open is anybody can play, and then you have to be a top open team to be intermediate, and then a top intermediate team to be main. I think it was main into I don't know the ranks after that. I know there was premier at some point, but I was middle level. I was going to play in main that season, so I was going to level up that year. I don't think I ever would have been a professional Counter-Strike player, but I think for like an amateur player, I was pretty good.
How old are you then?
I was when I first started playing CS, I was like 16.
Okay.
And then obviously I started Overwatch when I was like 18 or 19. So there was like a year or two period there where I played Counter-Strike. So I think I probably stopped around when I was 18, like when I got done with high school. And then the gap between like high school and like I took like a gap year in between college. That's kind of like when I started playing Overwatch.
Did you always have an affinity for like FPS? You said obviously you played like COD back in the day on Xbox and stuff.
Yeah, no, I think like if I hadn't played Call of Duty and Halo 3, I would not be here. Like, because those were the games. Like, I had an Xbox 360. In my mind, like one of the best consoles to ever.
It is. Hands down. It is the best console of all time.
Yeah. I mean, the games on there are just unbelievable. But yeah, like I've played like every Call of Duty. I think the first FPS I ever played was Call of Duty 4, the first Modern Warfare. I love that one. And actually thinking about it, I think I just gaslit myself. Like, I actually think that was the first like esports I ever did, because there was people that are old enough, there was game battles.
Yep.
And I played Call of Duty 4 game battles. And I don't have a ton of memories, but I just remember having one memory. It was like a classic like kid gamer experience where I was playing game battles and I couldn't pause it. And I had to go help my stepdad clean out the gutters. And I got yelled at, and I'm sitting there playing game battles and I'm crushing it. But yeah, I think that was actually the first experience I ever had was Call of Duty 4, playing game battles. And I don't even know how old I was. I was probably like 12, 11, really young. So like, yeah, if I didn't play Call of Duty and I didn't play Halo, like, there's just no way I would be where I'm at now. Like, there's no chance, because between those games, like, as a kid, I had probably 10,000 hours, just like an unbelievable amount. Like, when the new betas for Call of Duties would come out, I would wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to play before I went to school. That's how much I loved Call of Duty as a kid. Like, I played it all the time.
Well, that was the game back then as well. I'm a little bit older than you, obviously, but like that was like the game. How old am I compared to you? Oh, I'm 4 years older than you. Okay, yeah. It was actually the same age as my brother. Yeah, and like back then, COD, and especially like when the new releases came out, like that was the only game people were playing. Like I just remember logging on And then my whole friends list was just like the new COD or like
Yeah.
Halo 3, or maybe you'd see some other like random games, maybe some like Gears of War or something. But yeah, that was like in my mind as well, like the pinnacle of console
Yeah.
gaming at the very least, when it was no, I wouldn't say like innocent from the whole like free to play microtransaction shit we have now, but like come on, like map pack every now and then, like it kind of
Yeah.
was, and it was kind of you just put the disc in, you kind of vibe, like yeah, it was. I've got a lot of fond memories, and obviously so do you. And like, what kind of drew you to PC in that case? Like, obviously, going from console to PC is quite a big leap for a lot of kids, like especially around that age.
I'm trying to like I don't remember the exact reason that like spurned me to that decision, but I think a big thing was I remember as a kid like you said there were map packs, and back then on the Xbox 360 if you wanted to get like a gig of space or like 10 gigs it was like $100 hard drive add-on
Yep,
that you had to put on your 360. And so I would spend the summer mowing lawns just to like get like 50 gigs of space so I can download the map packs. And I was like, man, this sucks. Like I don't want to do this anymore. Like I want to have access to everything. And I think like a big part of my childhood was my relationship with my uncle. And he had always been a PC gamer from like even when I was like a kid. So like I would bring my Xbox over whenever I would spend the night there at my grandparents and with my uncle, and I would play Halo, Call of Duty, wherever it was at the time, and he would be playing the original Guild Wars.
oh yeah,
Um, he introduced me to real time strategy games. So like not StarCraft, but Company of Heroes. For people who are familiar with Company of Heroes,
yes, dude, I
yeah, I
love
played a ton of
Company Heroes.
yeah, I played a ton of Company of Heroes. Star Wars Empire at War.
Yep,
Um, the Lord of the Rings, Battle for Middle Earth, all
oh,
of those real time strategy
classic.
games. We played those together a ton. And so like I had never had a PC, but whenever I did go over, he had like an extra one and we would play together. And so like I always had in the back of my mind that that's something that I'd eventually want to do when I had the money for it. Um, so I got my first PC when I was 16 because that's when I had got my first job. I had worked at for anybody that lives in the Midwest. I worked at Freddy's Steak Burgers. It's a really it's actually delicious. It's a really good fast food chain. They make good burgers. So I worked there, and I was paying for my car, paying for insurance, and then whatever money I had left, I would plug it away for computer. And around Christmas is when I built it. So I think it was the seeds were kind of planted by my uncle and the games that I played with him. I think.
That's sick. That's and like that. That's like a classic. I don't know. Oh man, don't know what to call it. Like a I don't know, like a kid back then. Like that's a very like stereotypical in my mind. Like kid back then is like you're working this like really shitty job and like fast food or whatever. You're paying for X, Y, and Z, and then you're saving up for a PC, and then when you finally get it, it's like holy shit. It was kind of like me and my first like laptop and PC as well. We didn't have enough room for a PC for me specifically in where we lived, but I got my first laptop. I was like, this is the best thing to ever exist. Like playing WoW on that
Yeah.
laptop and stuff was like, oh my god. We used to take WoW with friends, play WoW together in their bedroom. Like it was so sick back then. And then was that like the first kind of games you got into? Was it like CS or did you play other stuff? Obviously you mentioned strategy games, but when you built your own PC, was it like CS you immediately hopped into?
Yeah, because I had access to computers before, so like I had laptops and stuff, but you can't really game on that stuff. Like,
Yeah, not
um,
well.
and I kind of miss a part of my childhood. I think like my biggest experience like computer gaming was playing RuneScape, and I think that's for a
Ooh.
lot of kids my age as well. Is I
Yep.
think RuneScape was
I still
like
play.
yeah,
It's sick.
I do too. I still play RuneScape, so like it was a big introductory like game into the like computer gaming world, and you kind of realize like the options that you have are so much more like it's so much more expansive than what the console offered. Like console was great, Xbox 360 was great, but it was super limited. And so there was always that idea in the back of my mind that I wanted a computer. There were more options. I never got to experience the World of Warcraft
Oh, that's
side of
lucky.
life because I didn't have a computer that was able to handle it. Um, so yeah, like it was just I wanted it. I knew that I could play games that I wasn't able to play before, like Team Fortress. I played Team Fortress 2 pretty much as soon as I built the computer. Counter Strike. It's just I knew those games were out there. I just did not have the capabilities to play it really. Because like a PC slob that I am, like I needed better frames. I just couldn't play games on 10 FPS. It's just not possible. Like I just couldn't handle it. So I knew the games were there. It was just I did not have the money until I got my own job to do so.
Yeah, the 10 FPS playing first-person shooters, not. Yeah, I would say not great. Maybe MMO. You could play RuneScape for sure, but like anything else is kind of like
Yeah.
you can't really do that shit. No way. I mean, it's so funny to
Nope.
look back then because even back then, a 60 hertz monitor or like 120, like that's crazy. Like you aren't doing that shit. You're playing on the lowest frames possible and the graphics suck and like it runs super slow. And now I'm like, if I don't get 240 frames in Overwatch, I'm like, this sucks. Like this does not feel good at all. It's like, it's obviously we're
Well,
older now, but even
we had
kids
talked about
nowadays.
it. Yeah, we had talked about EWC, and you were looking at the computer, and I had just bought a new computer like a week ago. So
Oh
like,
yeah, hell
because
yeah.
like obviously I haven't been streaming a ton, but like when I do stream Overwatch, I get so frustrated because I normally get it 240 frames when I'm not streaming to play Overwatch, and it feels fine. And I turn on my stream and I get like 170. I'm like, man, I can't play this game anymore. And it's like thinking back, like, dude, I used to play games on like 20 frames. Like, what am I complaining about? But like, that's just like the standard now for me. So I
Standard
bought
for
a brand new
everybody,
computer.
I'd argue.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
think there's a single kid out there now that would maybe like, I don't know, 14 to 16-year-old age bracket that would be
yeah.
like, yeah, I can't wait to play games on 30 FPS. Like, that's just not. Everybody kind of expects a minimum of 60, 120 kind of thing. Like, technology is getting cheaper in a way, like at least entry level stuff that makes games look good. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think for me, like the moment that I became addicted to upgrading was it was like around when I was 17, so like maybe like a year after I had my first computer. I was playing Counter Strike. I was really getting into it, and everybody was talking about the 144 hertz monitor, and I was like, man,
Oh, yeah.
like that sounds cool. Like I didn't really know like how big of a difference it was, but everyone could tell me, "Yep, you need to get it. You need to get it." But back then, like when 144 hertz was the new technology, it was like a $400 monitor,
Yep.
$350 monitor. So it took me a long time to like obviously I had to pay for my car. Like my parents made me responsible. Like I had to be financially responsible. I had to pay my car payment. I had to pay my car insurance. I need to save money, and then whatever else I had left, it was up to me. Whether it be like food, whatever, and I had to just slowly plug away. And I finally got that 144 hertz monitor um, by BenQ, and I plugged that in, and I was like, holy shit! Like that was like one of the few moments that snapped. I was like, oh, I can't ever go back. Like it has like for the people that have done that upgrade 60 to 144, I think everybody has that moment. You're like, this is unbelievable. Like, I feel like I've been playing the game wrong the entire time. That was the big WTF moment for me, was just like realizing like how much you can upgrade your setup just with one change, a monitor change.
Yeah, it's crazy how much potential it unlocks. And now, obviously, you can't survive without it being 200 frames. Like
Yep.
you're like, oh, it kind of sucks. I remember before I had these monitors. Now I had a 60 hertz. No, was it a 60 hertz? I had a 144 BenQ, and then I had a 60 hertz secondary monitor. Sucked. I was like,
Yeah.
this fucking blows, dude. And that was when I was living in the UK, casting contenders still.
Yeah.
Man, that was. And now I'm like 3 monitors. I'm like, oh, maybe a fourth one's kind of sick. I'm like, no, I don't need a fourth. Like, no, I got
Dude,
three. I'm chilling.
I've only got two right now, but when I was in Florida, I had the three monitor setup, and
It does go
the
kind of
people that have
crazy.
not the people that have not experienced the three monitor setup, when you like actually have three monitors that you could like actually use, like especially people that stream, like
Yes,
I think
streaming
streaming
goes
is really
crazy.
nice because you have your game, you have all of your stream management, and like you can have one for like chat and like other accessories or like stuff you need to keep up with. It's super nice. Like
It is.
it's hard to describe until you do it, but it does take up a lot of space. I can
Yeah,
understand.
that is the only problem. I bought this new desk actually recently. It's one of the. It's pretty expensive to be honest, but it was worth it. Rose actually recommended it to me. The Steel Series, no, Secret Labs standing desk. It's
Oh
going to
yeah,
go hard for casting and stuff, but yeah, I bought like monitor arms like a long time ago, and so I've got the vertical, horizontal, and yeah, having a vertical monitor goes ridiculously hard, especially for
yeah,
casting too. Actually, having like stats and like other bullshit on that and like run a show and stuff. It
yeah.
really does. It does help. If you're like, I guess if you're a normal person, you don't stream or anything like that, maybe it's not worth three. But like, I
Yeah.
don't know. Now I'm like just having three. I'm like, I need it.
For for me, bare minimum of two. Even if I wasn't
Oh
like
yeah,
like didn't
100%.
stream or anything, I think two is just so necessary. Like me being able to
It
like
is.
play a game and have something else on the side, like I have to have it. Like I can't do one anymore. It's not possible.
No, it's an impossible feat for this age, I think. Let's talk about your early Overwatch stuff then, because well, I casted you a long time ago in
Yeah,
contenders back when
yeah,
you were on Envision and yeah, Envy. Um,
yeah,
Obviously, you started out DPS. You had the McGravy Tracer. and
Yeah.
then slowly but surely, like a lot of players, I think, transitioned into a different role into tank.
Yeah, so it started with Envision. And like I don't want to say I was a bad DPS, but I was all right. Like I played, I would say Soldier and Tracer were probably the two that I played the most. Maybe some Cass. Like back in the day, I really prided myself on flexing because I was one of the people that played ranked, and I would kind of just slot. Maybe it's because I was awkward and didn't like. I've never been very demanding with how I played the games. Like I always enjoyed the fact that I could go into a game and I could play anything. Like I could play
Right.
the Ana, I could play the Winston, I could play the Diva, I could play the DPS I need to. So like that's how I played ranked. I did not go in and I grinded one hero and I went in and like prided myself on being flexible. So eventually when it got to the point where I was playing on an Envision, and the DPS at the time were me, Steenie, who was like a Pharah, Widow player, and Jaru. And all three of us, at one point or another, were playing Diva on the team. And we were like, this has to stop. Like, this is like the best character in the game. We've got three people trying to play at the same time. Um, and I think like what spurred me to like offer up full-time swapping was the fact that I was playing Tracer against Carpe and Effect.
Oh,
and
okay.
they were and they were just railroading me, man. It was bad. Like I was not a bad Tracer player by any means. Like, but like these were like this was like the peak of Tracer player back then. Like, and so like it was like Tracer Genji meta, and I'd be like 1v1 in Carpe, and then there's just Shadow Burn like above my head, one shotting me, and I was like, I'm not good enough for this. Like, I'm not built for this. I know my limits. Like, I can't do this anymore. I'm never gonna reach this peak. I'm never gonna be better than these guys. So like, I was very realistic with my situation and my talent level, and I was like, if I'm gonna swap, I should just swap now, because I already feel myself not being able to punch through that ceiling and beat these guys that need to be beat if I want to, win titles and lift trophies and whatever. So it's like, all right, I'll just play Diva. And really, when it first started, it was just to play Diva, but then I realized I was kind of good at it, and I just kept getting better and better and better, and I was like, I'll just stick to it. So it was really a swap out of necessity, and me realizing that Carpe was my daddy, and he always would be. So there's no point in playing DPS anymore. So I think that's like honestly been my biggest strength throughout my career is like just being super real with myself and not deluding myself into thinking that like, oh yeah, I can beat this guy. Like, no, I knew like this guy's better than me. He always will be better than me. So just being real with myself, I think, is probably why I'm here today. Honestly,
Do you think it saved your career in a sense?
100%. I think if
Yeah.
I had kept playing Tracer, I would have gotten bounced before I even made Overwatch League, and I think I
Okay.
probably would have been a 1 or 2 year level player and gotten bounced. Switching to tank saved everything that I have now, 100%.
Yeah. I think it's hard to tell how many players, or how many players' careers that has killed, because they're kind of not around and they don't exist anymore in at least in the zeitgeist, or at least like in Overwatch League had some time in the sun that like refuse
Yeah.
to swap off a role because they're like, no, I can do this. Like, I think that's a pretty admirable quality. Just realizing that I'm gonna get dominated by Effect, Carpe, and stuff, and maybe I just switch to Diva,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of players that don't end up doing that, yeah, that maybe they burn out a little bit too soon. Yeah, I remember contenders because you went to Poland, right? You went to Poland in
Yes.
2018. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think at that event, I'm pretty sure I only did EU, and then I think it was Des and Trid who casted the NA stuff. I can't remember exactly, but which team was that with? That was with Envy, right?
That
Or
was
Envision?
Envision. That was
Envision,
still
right?
Envision. Because that core, for the most of the time that we were in contenders, we were Envision.
Yeah.
The Envy part was still important, but it was like maybe like a 3-month period where we were Envy.
Hmm.
But yeah, that was with Envision. The team then was me, iShiny, who ended up being an Apex pro,
Apex
and he's
Pro now.
he's an Apex coach right now.
iShiny was really
Um,
good at Apex too.
yeah,
He's a
yeah, he
beast.
was, yeah. Buds,
Ooh,
for people that know
classic.
Buds, that's good Overwatch lore. Buds is really good. For people that know like the Overwatch League situation and why he didn't make Overwatch League, like yeah, like he was a good player. Like he could single-handedly take over a server. Um, and it was me, Jaru, Crimzo. Crimzo was on the team by then, and Fire. So
Yes.
like almost all of these players at one point or another made Overwatch League. iShiny and Buds didn't, but Fire made it obviously with Vancouver and Atlanta. Crimzo with all the teams he played on. Me, Jaru made Gladiators. Yeah, like we had a good team. What I remember about Poland, it's strange because like I think back then like I was so nervous to be around events and like willing to experience it fully. Not like I am now, where like I can just not nervous. I'll do whatever. Like I don't know, just be myself. But like back then, like everything was so exotic and new, and I felt like there was so much pressure. I like don't have a ton of memories about that event. It might have been because we sucked and we lost really early, but um, the one thing I remember about that event was we played Toronto Esports, which had who was on that team? It was Guardian,
Oh yeah, that's an old name.
Axiom, Nero, Dalton, Shu, and was it Kellex? Might have been Kellex.
Just looking.
But I just remember because Shu role swapped off flex support and he played Widow, and he absolutely dominated us on Widow. Like took us to town, like destroyed all of our Widow players. It wasn't even close. Like Shu was playing whatever flex support was meta back then. It was probably like Honor or something, and he just role swapped and just absolutely dominated us on DPS. And we were like, we have no chance. I think we ended up losing like 3-1 or something and getting bounced, but that's really the only memory that I have. Like I remember like the venue and how like weird it is. It's like some weird space.
It was a
bubble.
dome, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of domes
Man.
put together in like a space theme or something.
Alvernia Planet. If
Yeah,
people want to look it up, they've held an Apex. I think Apex first global LAN was there as well.
yeah. So like besides like the venue being weird, I don't remember much about the event. To be honest, like I don't know if because it's been so long or.
I mean, it was a long time ago. My memory's terrible. I already got a couple of memories as well.
Rafflegator was our coach at the time. If
Oh,
anyone
yeah.
knows Rafflegator, he's a VR streamer. He's been a
Big
VR streamer for
VTuber
a
streamer now. Yep.
Yeah. Funny story about Rafflegator is I'm usually very like respectful. And I don't know what happened today, but like I think Rafflegator's probably been the only coach I've ever disrespected as a player, and I still regret it to this day. I don't remember I don't remember the reason why like we were both so heated, but I told him to suck my balls. And I still feel bad to this day. Like once it came out of my mouth, I was like, "What am I doing? What am I 12? Like, what am I doing?" Because like anybody that knows me back then, like I don't want to say hothead, but I definitely got pretty passionate. I would say with like people that were on my team. I held people to a standard, and like sometimes I regret it, but at the same time, like I think me holding other people to a high standard also lifted them up and like made our teams better than they could have been. Because I think like back then there were so many people that were willing to just coast and get by on talent. So like me being realistic with myself and me holding my teammates to a high standard, I think are like the two like personality traits that like brought me here today. Those were like the two cornerstones of which like my career was built off of, I think. Because of like I said, there was so many people that like went in and out of my teams that were just like willing to coast off talent and not practice or preferred streaming or whatever, and like that's just not how I saw it because I didn't stream or anything. I didn't have any extra income. Like I was poor, like genuinely poor. Like I was like there was a point where I was like lower class and we had like $0 to our name. I could barely afford the internet bill. I had to ask people for help with groceries. Like Reprise is like one of the greatest friends I've ever had because like all the money that I made from Envision, so I made $1,500 in a month. 1,000 of that had to go to my mom just to make sure that like the electricity was on, and we had internet and we had food. So like Reprise would like send me groceries through Walmart and like stuff like that. Just like it meant so much at the time. Like that's the only time I've ever been poor was like age 18 to 19 was with Envision. And for the people that are back then, like the Envision story is so complex because the owner was all over the place. Like there'd be times where he wouldn't pay us for like 2 months at a time, and I was like, dude, like my power's about to get shut off. I've eaten ramen noodles for a week straight. Like I understand like you don't want to pay this money or whatever, but I'm hungry, man. Like I don't know how bad it is for the other people, but like I can't do this anymore. Like you have to pay us. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of drama with that. So like, it was really difficult, and I think like that's kind of the reason I was so probably a little over the top with people sometimes was I wanted it so bad, and I was willing to live through like essentially poverty to be a professional. Like that's how much it meant to me, you know.
Yeah,
Sorry,
like
bit
you
of a
said.
tangent. Kind
No,
of,
no, it's
kind of,
good.
kind of straight away from the point.
No, it's perfect, honestly. Yeah, that sounds like a very like that is a. I'm sure people maybe listening to this can kind of relate to that as well. Like,
Yeah,
living in that kind of way where like you need to get paid or your fucking lights are gonna get turned off and then you can't
yeah,
do shit.
and I'll say like the life path that I took, I would never recommend to anybody. Like when I went back, so like the period of time where I like got dropped out of Overwatch League and I went back home, like I had like kids come like, oh, I want to do what you do. Like, do you have any tips? I was like, one, don't follow my footsteps. What I did was stupid. Like I was literally living through poverty. Like barely had enough money. Like I dropped out of school. Like none of that made any sense. Like I went off of passion and not logic. And I always tell people like always pay attention in school, do your homework, get good grades, and if you have the extra time to like pursue this as like a side project, yeah, go for it. But I made this like my number one priority, and like I put all these eggs in a basket that wasn't even there. Like the eggs were just dropping, and somehow like I magically landed where I am. And I'm not saying like I didn't put in the work to get here, but um, yeah, there was a real good shot that I just wasted like 2 to 3 years of my life and made no money and had nothing to show for it. Like I consider myself very lucky.
When was the kind of turning point that you realized like, oh, like it's all gonna change? 'Cause obviously you were picked up by the Florida Mayhem initially, right? For the Overwatch League in 2019. Was
Yeah.
that kind of the holy shit? Like now I've done it. Now I can kind of lift myself out of this position.
Um. So when I was on Envision, like I think it was we had just finished qualifying for the first ever Contenders Land in Los Angeles, and then we kind of had like leverage on Envision, and we were like, "Listen, you can't pay us $1,500 a month anymore." Like the
Right.
Overwatch League was like kicking off at that point. Like people were making however much they're making 150,000, 200,000. We're like, we cannot get paid $1,500 a month anymore. So we got them to bump it to 4,000. So we were making $4,000 a month, and I think then like once those first checks started hitting, I was like, okay, that's like a lot of money. That's like a decent amount of money. Like, and I was able to show it to my parents. I was like, these are the pay stubs. Like, this is what I'm getting paid right now. And like, if I continue on this path, like I can make Overwatch League, and the people getting paid there, it's ridiculous. Like, no offense to a lot of people that are getting paid back then, but there were some shitters getting
Yeah.
paid big money, like 150,000, 200, 250, like, and it's like everybody essentially, like in some of these orgs, was getting paid six figures or more. Minimum was like an afterthought for a lot of these people. Um, there wasn't a lot of people getting paid minimum, I would say, at least on like the premier orgs. So I was like, once that $4,000 check hit for the first time, I was like, okay, like I got to keep going. I've worked too hard for this, and I realized then like I can make it all the way, and I can make something out of this. It was like that, and then once the whole Envision to Envy transfer happened, because Envy was a storied org, like
Yeah.
a premier org back then, like
Oh yeah.
one of the best. They were like rivaling with like, because I remember them, I saw them back in Call of Duty all the time. Like they were a top tier esports org. So once I was a part of that and like part of their story, I was like, oh man, like I'm actually making a name for myself here. Um, and I think that was around Goats meta, and I was sick at Goats. Like I don't brag too much about how good I was at the game very much, but like Goats, I was genuinely amazing at Diva. I think if I had to pick a peak in my career, I think Goats was probably my peak because it had like all of like the recipe of like what I was good at. It was like very teamwork orientated. The things that I was good at was very small, like micro decisions that I could make to impact team fights. Positioning, because mechanics were never really my strong suit. That's why I played tank in the first place. I didn't have crazy aim or anything, but like I was good at ult tracking. I knew how to use matrix. Like eating grabs just like scratched my brain in a certain way that like kept me motivated on a daily basis to get better. Like
Right.
if I could figure out how to eat one more grab in a scrim block, like oh man, that that is a win of a day. Like, I don't care about anything else. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if Diva players can relate, but like, the satisfaction of eating someone else's ultimate is just like, I don't know. It's not a high, but like, you just know it's embarrassing for the other person. And like that motivated me. I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's like some sick twisted logic. Like, it wasn't about me. It was about the other person. Like, I just embarrassed this guy. Like, and I don't know if I don't know if Mirror will ever watch this episode, but I think like the most fun I ever had in a scrim block was I ate like 5 of Mirror's grabs in a row.
No.
Yeah, it was like 4 or 5. I ate like 4 or 5 of them in a row, and
Holy shit.
it's just like once you like reach a high of that level, like you have to
Yeah.
always chase that. Like, I gotta do that again. I can't do that once, like. So like eating grabs for me was just like, it was just a peak, and then like I combine that with like the other gameplay, and Ghost was my peak, and it's not even close. I don't even think there's a meta that's even remotely like for me like double shield, definitely not. That was bad at Sigma. Like, I was just a good diva player. Like, maybe my season 3 like debut, like the one where Kai first started popping off and broke onto the scene. Like,
On
I was pretty
Valiant,
good at that
right?
meta
Yeah.
too. I'd say that was probably my second best meta, like the Rhine diva, hit scan, and a Lucio meta. That was probably like my second best one. But yeah, long as diva was in the meta, I was pretty good. Everything else, not so much.
I mean, Diva's a very good character to be good at, to be fair, especially
Yeah.
back in Overwatch 1, like you were saying. It's pretty strong, pretty powerful character that can like just completely disable the backline just by matrixing people and like, yeah, like you said, denial of ultimates. Diva's pretty strong now, to be fair. She's pretty OP,
Yeah, yeah.
like with it
It's been a while,
insane
but yeah,
matrix.
she's pretty strong.
Yeah, exactly. Have you been playing recently, by chance?
Yeah, I get on every once in a while.
Okay.
I still feel like I have that like part of my brain where I try not to be a diva one trick, and I queue up tank and I play other stuff and I lose, and I'm like, oh shit,
Oh, just
maybe I
don't
should
play Diva.
maybe I should just be a diva one trick. I've always been a diva one trick, and I usually do pretty well after that. So, yeah, I get on every once in a while. Um, I don't play a ton, but yeah, I usually play diva when I play tank. I try not to go in streamer mode, but I get bullied a lot nowadays because I'm
Oh,
I'm washed
really?
up. Let's be real. Like, I'm like Masters 1 or something ridiculous. Like, I'm just not good at the game anymore, which is fine. I think I'm actually higher rank on DPS and support than I am tank, and I don't even know how that's possible.
Wait, yeah, how
Uh,
is that possible?
I think I'm GM 4 on support right now
Damn,
and
okay.
Masters 1 on tank. So if that tells you how this season of
I think that
Overwatch has
makes
gone for
sense.
me, then
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes no sense because tanks are pretty fucking broken right now. But I mean,
I just play Brig. I don't know.
yeah,
Listen, for other people
Brig's pretty
that
fun.
like don't know how to play support, dude, just play Brig. I promise you, like you'll climb so much just playing Brig. It's just like, especially with like Diva and Winston being meta, just pocket your support, hit some flails, pop a rally, you'll win games. I don't know.
Easy
Brig's
game.
so easy.
There you go. Climbing tips from McGravy. Easy.
Yeah.
What was the Florida Mayhem team like when you first joined? What was the like team atmosphere?
It was horrible, man. It was so bad. Like, I was like, you have like these grand ass like visions of like, oh, I finally made the Overwatch, like finally. And I get back and it's like a full Korean team that hates each other and it's like attempted to fight each other multiple times. Coaching staff they didn't really have any control and people bouncing in and out. They had no vision for the roster. They didn't know what they wanted to do. So like I came in and like this is probably like the second or third worst team to ever grace the Overwatch League. Like they were
Yeah.
terrible. Like I came in.
To give people
Yeah.
an idea, I'll quickly run through the roster because it was a big one. This is just from Wikipedia. DPI, Hapogen, Rain, Swan, Zephyr, and then Tivik, Apply, Gravy, Apply again, and then you again. It's just joining and going from inactive to active, and then Awesome Guy as well.
Yeah. Awesome guy ended up being I think his name was SNR after that.
SNR, yes, it was. They
No.
did change his name.
No, what was his name?
I thought it was. It
SNR,
was.
let me look it up. Awesome guy Overwatch.
You sure it wasn't SNR or S and
Maybe it
something?
was.
SNT.
SNT. Okay, so SNR is the coach
SNT.
SNR is the coach I've recently been working with. I'm so sorry,
Oh, there
SNR,
you
but
go.
you have a very similar name. So yeah, SNR is the coach I've been working with recently. But yeah, SNT. I knew he changed his
SNT.
name to something similar. But yeah.
Apparently, he coaches Apex Legends now. So there you go.
Oh, good for him. Yeah. Season 2 Florida Mayhem were terrible, and the biggest thing was like So I had the team that I had left to join Florida Mayhem was me and Trill playing tank, which I thought was a pretty good duo for NA contenders. We were pretty good.
Yeah.
The DPS were Fisher,
Oh yeah.
Sharp,
That was good.
Jaru, and then the backline was Crimson and Fire. So like for a contenders team, we were pretty good in my mind. Like I think we were one of the better GOATs teams in NA contenders at the time. I think if you had taken that team and put in the Overwatch League, they would have performed better than the Florida Mayhem at the time.
A lot
Easily,
of
easily.
at that time, that was when Contenders was the most comparable to Overwatch League back then in 2018, 2019, even 2020. You could argue maybe a lot of the top
Yeah.
10 Contenders teams were like beating Overwatch League teams. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't a crazy like, oh wow, that's insane. Like that was just kind of the norm, especially the
Fusion Uni, Atlanta Academy,
yeah. Fusion
Neon
Uni
Envy,
was
like
sick.
any of three of those teams, I think like could have went in the Overwatch League and been like maybe middle of the pack, maybe
Yeah.
a little below middle of the pack, but like they would have been competitive. Like there was like three teams in NA contenders that were competitive Overwatch League teams on the daily. So I had to accept that like I was taking a significant step down in terms of like talent and like performance just to make the paycheck or whatever. And I think that was hard for me to accept because due to unfortunate circumstances with my org denying me tryouts for season 1 Overwatch League, I literally could not have made it season 1 because I was not allowed to try out. Like I was threatened with like, if you try out for these teams, I will drop you and you will make no money. And I was poor, so I couldn't do it. So he had all the leverage over me.
That is not legal. Like, surely, just I
Yeah,
mean, I
probably
guess it
not.
doesn't matter
It's not
at
like I
that
could have paid
level.
a lawyer either. So like
Exactly.
he
That's
had
fucked.
he had all the power over me. So he's like, if you try out for these Overwatch League teams, like you will get dropped. So like I had like Boston, I know Philly Fusion when they try me out. I don't remember all the teams, but I had like 3 or 4 teams that were at least willing to give me tryouts, and I couldn't do any of them. So season 1 was chalked, and then season 2 is obviously where I made it, and yeah, it was just totally dysfunctional because there was like a power struggle between the current GM Matt Akavan and Bare Hands. For the
Oh
people that know
wow. Yeah.
the Bare Hands saga, where he was like the assistant GM and he was the big Korea guy. He wanted the roster to go full Korean. And me and Albert and Matt were trying to pull for like a 50-50 split. I was trying to get Crimzo and Trill on the team at the time. I was pulling like, just take the core of Envy. Like, hey, like they're willing to sell them. Like, let's just get that core. Let's just piece together what I had before. Like, I
Mhm.
promise you will be better. Like, if that team had gone together, the results would have improved. And like the big drama came from the fact that I think like our pitch had gotten through and they were cool with it. They're like, okay, like we'll explore that. And then we had like it was like a content trip that we had to do to Florida. We ended up flying to Florida and like we went to an Orlando Magic game. We met up with like the NBA 2K team that they had, and we did
Oh.
like this whole content trip and whatever. But while that was happening, Bare Hands stayed in LA and he backstabbed everyone and he got the ownership to go for the full Korean idea instead. So like we
Wow.
left with the idea that like our idea was going to go through, and
Yeah.
then we came back and I was out of a job essentially. And we got sat down, me applying to Vic got sat down and we were like, they were like, hey, listen, you can play until whatever, like these people get their visas, or you can just be benched. And I don't remember like how the conversation exactly went, but Bare Hands was leading it, and it was like super condescending or like threatening, and we basically told him to fuck off. Like we don't like you. I don't remember the whole conversation. Like maybe like Apply would know how it went better. Uh, it was just such an awful time. I don't know. I think it's just because I didn't want to remember it clearly, to be honest. But I remember the conversation being like super, super aggressive. And he was like, listen, you can play in the Overwatch League or you can be benched. And it's like, well, we'll take the benching. Fine. You guys can
Yeah.
suck. We were essentially like of the view like, sorry, we will make you guys better right now. And we know that. So we're just not going to play. We're going to make you look stupid. Like if you're going to do this, like if you're going to suffer to do this whole full Korean mid swap season, like do it. Like we're not here to be your crutch. You're going to pay us to sit there because that's what we're going to do. So we ended up going with that, and then I didn't get dropped. I think I got traded, right? Yeah, I got
To
traded.
Valiant. Right.
Yeah, the trade was
What
Fate
was the trade?
for
Ooh.
Fact Fiction, me, and Shax.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because that was back then when trades actually happened.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
people wanted to do trades. So yeah, I didn't even get dropped. I ended up getting traded. Um, and that's when I ended up transitioning to Valiant, and obviously Space was on the team, so I was just a cheerleader, which I was fine with. And I think if you talk to a lot of those guys, I think I was the best teammate I could have been for someone who wanted to play. Because like, obviously, I had just like I left contenders. I was playing all the time. I joined Overwatch League. Team was terrible. I get benched. I get traded, and now I'm behind like NA's best ever off tank. I have there was no pathway for me to play at the time. Um, where do I want to go with this? Yeah, so I was on Valiant, and it was goats, and
And that was
I think
with KSF Apply Gig. No, that was
no, this
the
was
Custer, Fact, Agilities, Carib,
yes.
Space, Izzyaki, Cookie,
Yes.
Bunny, Fate, or Fate got traded. Yes.
Izzyaki got traded
To
to Shanghai
Dragons.
because I think
Yes.
I only saw Izzyaki for like 3 or 4 days.
And then Cookie and Bunny also left. So it was like Space, Carib, Agilities,
Yes.
Fact, yourself, and Custer.
Yes. So
Yeah.
it was the changing of the guard for the Valiant.
Yeah.
And it was still Goats meta, and we weren't
Yes.
bad. But I would say like for me, like when I joined, like I don't know if it was like the delusion of like being a player, but like it was my best meta. It was still goats. I was still really good, and like I love Indy. I love space. But to this day, like I still think I probably would have been a better player for them during goats. Um, I don't know if it would have been like a big enough of a change to skew the results.
Right.
But I felt like the frustration for me was like obviously I just like I said I joined Overwatch League. I was playing. I wasn't playing, and now I'm benched, and I think I'm better, but Packing's kind of like hands were tied. Like he was the new head coach. You can't really replace Space in that kind of situation. Like even if I was better, like that's not really a decision he could have made. So there's a lot of frustration, but like I think I did my best by putting my foot forward and being a good teammate. There's some great memories. Like I didn't play, but like I got to be a part of the Vancouver Titans win streak being broken. That like me and Space wasn't playing either. That was when we were doing the Sombra Goat stuff when we upset
Right.
Vancouver Titans. Yeah, and Kriv had those crazy sleeps. Like so, even though I didn't play, like that team was like some of the best memories I've ever had in the Overwatch League. Like a lot of good guys. Like Custo really took me under his wing there. Like and helped me like accept like being benched, and like he helped me walk through it. Obviously, Andy's a guy. Kriv's hilarious. Agilities was one of my better friends. So like, even though I didn't play, I think season 2 Valiant was like probably one of the better teams I've ever been a part of. I think.
I will make a small note as well. I'm on the Wikipedia page for Valiant at the moment and on the 2019 roster. Scott is like his time on LA Valiant, and then it says new team, like what team they transitioned to after that. So obviously for Izzyaki was Shanghai Dragons, but his new team is just Overwatch, which is the Face It team that I'm like a sub for as well. So like Valiant to Overwatch, there's a few years missing there, but yeah, technically that is true. Yeah, and then it's quite interesting looking at I think 2019 to 2020, especially for the Valiant, was like the tumultuous year, and then it was like, okay, Valiant's boom, like that's it. That team is like not going to compete realistically again. It was just a nightmare because that was the year they had they went to China. No, was it 2020 they went to China? 2021, 2021, right? Yeah, 2021 they went to China.
21 is when we went to China because
Yes,
what happened was obviously 2019 was season 2, and then Immortals Gaming Group was not keen on how the Overwatch League was playing out after season 2. They felt like the expenses were too high.
Yeah.
So they pretty much let go anybody that made significant salary.
Yeah.
Or is going
I
to make
mean,
significant
at that
salary.
point, it was like Shax, Rain, Lastro, Kai, Dreamer.
Yeah, the team was me, Dreamer, Gig, KSF, Apply, Shax, Lastro, Rain.
Yeah.
And we all had to go through tryouts. So like I don't think anybody on that team was like I didn't make it from the year over. It wasn't like, oh, McGravy's on the roster, let's just keep him because he's not making a ton. It was I don't remember if I was out of contract, so it wasn't like my contract was a +1. I think they dropped my contract, and then I had to retry out. And I do remember going through tryouts. They're pretty intense because like this is like when the I think the Gumba philosophy first started like to develop with like tryouts and stuff. I think Gumba had a big hand in like how tryouts were ran. He had programmed his own stat bot to like track stats. So I got to see stats and like so I was like I think that was the first year they implemented it. So I ended up going through tryouts. There was so many people. Like I think if I go to my computer I could probably find a list, but like hundreds and hundreds of people tried out. And for me it was between me and Punk.
Oh. Okay.
And listen, now that I've gone through my career, I can probably say they made the wrong decision. I think Punk probably would have been a better player. But what I'll say is like how like the mentality and like the attitude of the team and like the emotions of the players. I think if I wasn't on that season 3 Valiant, it wouldn't have gone as well as it did. Because we had a lot of tilters, to be honest. Like,
right.
Kai wasn't a tilter, but he wasn't anybody who was gonna like. He's just Kai. Like he's quiet. He shoots things. Fine. Shax is also kind of a quiet guy. But there was a lot of internal Korean drama. Lastro and Rain pretty much bullied Dreamer every single day. And obviously we had Gig. And listen, I love Gig, but everyone knows Gig's playstyle. Gig's kind of an idiot, and he kind of just runs at people. And like, the Koreans hated it. They hated having to support Gig. So there was a lot of drama. Every day of scrims was like a huge tilt fest. And I don't want to say it made me worse as a player, because that's not like that's like kind of an excuse. But I had to like manage everybody's emotions and like the environment of the team. I had to be the team leader. I had to do a bunch of stuff never done before. I had to track ultimates. I had to lead the team. I had to be the voice. Whenever people were tilting, I had to be the only one talking, like making sure like the environment was good. So like a lot of that season was me gearing my energy towards the teamwork, the team environment, being emotionally intelligent, and like picking people up when they're down. And like I said, it's not an excuse, but I definitely feel like I was a little bit worse of a player because of that. The meta had changed. It was double shield a lot of the time.
Oh, that was an awful meta.
I wasn't that great at Sigma, so like I was trying to learn like a new hero while juggling like all of the stuff within the team, and it was probably one of my worst years, to be honest. I think like player wise, but I did the best that I could. I think so. Like I'm not upset with how season 3 played out because it was still a relatively successful year because pretty much everyone there was getting paid like a minimum salary or close to a minimum salary. They completely blown up the team. Brand new, 8 new players that have never played together essentially, besides like me and Apply. So I think a lot of people like season 3 Valiant because it was like the underdog story where everyone thought we were going to be terrible, and we were like middle of the pack, which isn't bad, but like given the expectations, like pretty successful year.
And that is when the whole team blew up, and they had the insane Chinese team, which was, I'll read it out for the audience here. Crystal, Shocheng, Silver 3, Milan Ran, NVM. And I'm pretty sure, I remember NVM very specifically because I remember looking at his Wikipedia beforehand, and he had been retired for 3 years before he got picked up by Valiant. NVM for me sticks out. I don't know why. Hybe and Say, S-A-I, Say, I think that's how you said it. I cannot remember, but
I think some of these players have name changed because some of these don't sound familiar. Like I think their names might have been different when they were.
WYA. Wait, I'm looking now.
Weah.
It was definitely Weah in the Overwatch League. Yeah, I don't remember that. I remember all the rest though. Crystal, Shocheng, Silver 3, Milan. I remember Milan Run because Milan Run was like playing Tracer at the time and like actually doing well. Like this team was like, this team is going to come last. They're not going to win any games, etc. Like yada yada yada. But Milan Run was like, I'm going to carry this team. I'm gonna hit every pulse bomb and gonna find kills somehow, and he did, and it was ridiculous.
I think that was the year where the Crystal drama had hit too, where like
Yeah, but he went back to China to see his girlfriend rather than come back to the States. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
Insane drama with Crystal, yeah. Actual like paycheck thief at that point.
Yeah. I remember tweeting about it. Like I was like I'm getting kicked for this guy. Like this guy's just getting a bag for free. Like this is not fair. But yeah, how that played out was like so the season 3 ended and I think like after that year, Immortals was even more like you need to spend less.
Right.
So they went through and I think they did trials again and I ended up getting replaced by Adam. And at the time, like I thought it was like strictly performance based. And it kind of was, but they originally had one of the replacement with Bernard, and I think that's a player that like I think I would have easily accepted. Like
Bernard's
if I get
pretty
replaced by Bernard, okay,
yeah,
he's better than me. That's fine. And this is not the diss to Adam, but I felt like the difference between me and Adam was like not as big as like people thought it was. So
right.
I was pretty upset that I got replaced on that roster. Because like I said, I had like literally given like my heart and soul, like all of my energy to that team, and like I felt like, and other people on the team as well felt like if I wasn't on the team, that season would have exploded. That team would have exploded, 100%. Like I was the glue that kept it together. So yeah, I got replaced that year by Adam. And later on, I figured out like it wasn't so much because Adam was better than me; it was because I was making 75,000 that year.
Right.
And they didn't want me to make 75,000. They wanted someone who was going to. They
classic.
wanted someone who was going to make 50K.
Sure.
They wanted to save $25,000, which, you know, I mean, that's the number they had to work with. So fine. But yeah, I was pretty jaded about it. I know a lot of people ended up not liking me because I was jaded about it. I tweeted about it a lot. And I don't know. I don't know if I regret it because, like I said, like I did some back-breaking emotional work. Like more so than I think a player should have to do. And I don't know if I would like me as a coach, I would ever put that emotional burden on a player like that. Just having one person carrying the load for 5 other people who are playing the game, it's a lot. Like, I don't know. I don't know how I did it. Honestly.
Managing all of that when you're a player too that's tough.
I don't know how I did it, honestly. Like, I don't know how I got through the season. Because also, like, people have to think it was COVID year too. So like, there was just like we had played at Dallas and like we had gone off the high of like winning the map. We beat Dallas at Dallas. Like I got to go up there and be myself, like talk some shit, like be a good personality, like it was everything I'd ever wanted. And there was supposed to be a whole year of that. And then COVID hit. And I'm stuck in my apartment. And I have a hard time getting groceries. And I'm really sick. Like there's all this stuff and I can't see my friends. I can't do any of this stuff. So like I have to do like this emotional like overload of the team and there's also COVID year. And it's like I don't know how I made it, honestly. Like I don't know. It hasn't like affected me like down the line, but I don't know how I did it in that moment because I think I'm a strong person, but that was a lot. That was so much, man. Like it might have been different if it wasn't the COVID year, but the COVID year just made it so bad. And I think looking back on it, I'm just happy I could like make the experience better for others. Like I know a lot of people said like my personality, my shit talk, like what I did like on camera for the Overwatch League, like it made it fun for people, and that makes me like really happy because like COVID year for like a lot of people was just obviously it was miserable. Like nobody could go anywhere.
Terrible.
There wasn't anything to do. So if I could go up there on the post game show and throw on some dance lights and talk some shit and make things fun for other people, like I'm happy that helped the product even a little bit. I
mean, we were missing that in the Overwatch League for quite some time. Even the small like flares of personality, it was a bit easier when we were at LAN, and it would have been easy if we were able to travel a lot, although that would have sucked. I'm not going to get into the discussion of like how ridiculous the travel schedule was, but presenting personalities in front of a live audience with cameras and stuff way easier than at home fucking behind a screen. And yeah, so
I mean, like, listen, for the people that want to like put me to the test, like I did an interview with Sideshow at that LAN. Like listen, like, not to toot my own horn, but I was a good personality, and I think I made the league a better product, even if a little bit. And I think that's kind of like what made me so upset when I got dropped. Is like I felt like even though if Adam was potentially better, I don't know. Like I wasn't objective back then, so I don't know if I can or cannot say that Adam was better than me. It was probably pretty close, but like I felt like what I was being like cut for, it wasn't enough to justify that I made like the Valiant brand better. I made the Overwatch League brand better. Like, because at the time, like I'm not saying like I was a top person. I was close though. Like, if you go to the Overwatch League account, like I was a part of like that. They did like this series of like they did like a parody on political hit pieces. It was like me, Super in
okay.
space.
Yeah.
So like I was included with Super in space, and like if anybody, those were like the golden boys of like Tank at the time. So like I was close. I was close. Like I'm not saying I was as good as Super in space, but like my personality was at least comparable to what they had at the time. So I was pretty salty when I got released from Overwatch League, and I think I don't want to say people turned on me, but some people definitely did because I'm petty and I wear my heart on my sleeve. So
Two good
I
combinations.
yeah,
Or one
yeah.
good combination, yeah.
So like the things that people liked about me in the Overwatch League, when I got cut, that they didn't like because it was the flip side of the coin, right? So that the coin was on the other side. I was a little upset. I was vocalizing that I was upset, and that's all right. I understand. Like I know people don't like when people bash the product or teams or whatever, but I was definitely not happy after I got released in the Overwatch League. It was a tough time. Yeah, I mean, and then season obviously like the Chinese stuff happened where the people I got replaced by they ended up getting fired anyways. So
Yeah. I mean,
for me,
did this all kind of help you with that transition to like when I say that, I mean the way you handled all the players in COVID year and your like mentality and like just trying to keep the team bonded, like did that help you like through this transitional phase? Because after that you became a coach, like for
yeah,
the Florida Mayhem.
100%. I think if I hadn't gone through season 3, I don't think I would have been a very effective coach. So yeah, I did like all the emotional stuff season 3, and then season 4. When the Chinese stuff happened, it kind of like helped me accept that I had to let go of being a
Right.
player. Because that stuff happened, and then I trialed for Vancouver Titans, and everyone knows like Vancouver Titans back then were terrible. And I think I think when I knew I was ready to retire is when I tried out for that team, and I realized I was better than them. I didn't want to play anymore because I wasn't very good in the first place. And if I'm sitting here and I'm playing and I feel like I'm the best player on the server, I was like, I had just gone through an emotionally taxing season 3. I don't know if I want to go through an even worse season with the Vancouver Titans here. So I kind of stopped trying in the trials. I didn't make it, and then after that, it was like I was in limbo. I wasn't decided if I was going to play or not. And then for the people who are educated, I did like the revival stint.
Yeah.
Fact asked me as a favor to play because they were having like roster shakeups. Yeah, and I got embarrassed there, frankly. My head wasn't in it to completely like play and like perform well, so I got embarrassed in the Overwatch League, and then I went to Contenders, which I didn't plan on doing in the first place. I got embarrassed even more, and I said, okay, it's we're done here. Like it's time to give up. I think my time as a player is over. I retired. Cried on stream. I cried like a fucking baby. Like I have I am like I said, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm very emotionally intense, I think. So when I feel things, I really feel things. Like I have no shame of it either. Like I don't know why men are afraid to cry. I had no problem crying. It felt good. Like it was a good release. Like I think I had needed that for a while, and being able to share that moment with all the people that supported me was it helped me move on. So I did that, and then I did co-streaming / streaming for about I don't know 6 months for that season. And that's kind of like I don't know for people that like I don't know how many people follow my YouTube, but like I did reviews and I posted them on YouTube. They didn't do bad. I mean, if I go and look now, like maybe like 1,000 to a couple thousand views on each one, which
Not too bad.
for someone who's building their channel, it wasn't bad. And looking
Yeah.
back on it now, I should have kept doing it. Like I really missed an opportunity there to build my YouTube channel. I got lazy, frankly.
I think a
It was
lot
a
of
lot of
players
work.
do, to be fair.
It was for me. It was a lot of work because I streamed for like 7 or 8 hours a day
Right.
usually, and then I'd get off and I wanted to make a YouTube video. I didn't want to pay people to do it, so I would go and I would edit all this stuff myself, make thumbnails, post the video. Um, so I was watching like NA. I was co-streaming NA Overwatch League, and then I would review the APAC that I had missed at the end. So I would do like 8 hours of review or like something ridiculous, which is an insane amount of review for anybody that understands how taxing review is. And then I would get done with all of that review, either play ranked or call the stream or whatever, and then I would get off, edit, make thumbnails, and then because my computer was shit, whenever I was processing and uploading YouTube videos, I couldn't do anything, so I had to get off. So like, it was just too much. Like I was doing like 12 to 13 hours of work a day, and I think I burned myself out too quickly. If I had, the thing is, like getting YouTube editors, like when you're starting early, you have to be willing to accept that you're going to lose money because
Yes, 100%.
the editors are going to cost more than what you get back from YouTube.
Yeah,
Um,
easily.
and I just at the time like I wasn't as financially responsible as I should have been, so I didn't have enough money to say like, oh yeah, I can just throw away $50 every video. Like I didn't want to do that, so I burnt myself out on my YouTube. But I think I made good stuff when I was doing it. I did co-streaming, but the thing is that actually helped because me posting reviews on YouTube actually helped Gumba make the decision to hire me for Florida.
Oh, really?
Because he watched me do reviews and he said, oh, Gravy still knows what he's talking about. Okay, yeah, let's bring him on.
Wow, okay. So it did lead to something then. Those hard,
Yes.
long
Yeah.
days, yeah.
Yes. He said that was like obviously he knew me from Valiant and he thought I was a
Of course.
smart player, but he said like at least that's how I remember at the time. Is like the reason he decided to go through with it was he watched me do like the last review that I posted was like I think it was like a playoff like Gladiators versus Shanghai. He said he watched all of that and he said, yeah, looks like he knows what he's talking about and hired me. So thankful I did YouTube for at least, a couple of months.
And then you
Helped
won
me
the
out for
Overwatch
sure.
League. And there you
Yeah.
go. That's how it led into it. Easy as that, apparently.
Easy as that. Just
Yeah.
post on YouTube and you win the Overwatch
Exactly.
League.
And you win the Overwatch League, yeah. Obviously, Florida Mayhem, you were with quite a time under Gumba. When I do want to ask, I feel like I've not asked this question to many people outside of talent. I feel like I should have asked Hunter this too. Like, how did you feel when the Overwatch League kind of disappeared? Reason why I asked is because for myself, I'm a very sentimental person. I like keeping things like badges and like lanyard tags and stuff that we get from events and everything like that. I'm a very like sentimental person in that regard. And like I didn't think I'd feel this way when the Overwatch League disappeared and like ceased to exist. But I was like, man, I was fucking upset. Like I was sad this ended. I couldn't believe it in the moment, and I feel like this happens with me a lot. Like in the moment, I'm like, holy shit, this is happening, and then it like takes me a while to process it, and like I was like, holy fuck, this makes me really upset. Did you kind of feel the same way? Because you were with, well, you weren't there at the start, like 2018, but like 2019, you were in the league, and then obviously up until its very conclusion, you were there too. So almost the entirety of its lifespan.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody like within our camp knew it was gonna probably happen that year, or like had a feeling it was. I was definitely upset, and I think the main reason was just because like I knew there would be something after, but I knew it'd be nothing even close to what was currently happening, and that's not a fault of the people currently running OWCS. Because I understand there has to be like a slow burn to like build up from the start, but like as someone who is in the middle of my 20s, like I wasn't sure, can I afford to stick around? So like I have a girlfriend that I plan to be with for a long time. I plan on owning a home at some point. Like, can I afford to make no money while sticking around in Overwatch? I don't know. Yeah, I still don't know to this day. Like I still don't know if I'm gonna be able to stick around. I'm doing my best. The UCI work has helped a lot. The talent work I did for EWC helped a lot. I still don't know. But yeah, I was pretty upset. And the biggest reason was I was at the peak. I want to stay. I want to stay at the top.
Of
Like
course.
I
Yeah.
had just won the Overwatch League, and like yeah, it's nice. Everyone says, oh yeah, well you're the last champion, but like maybe we could have done it again. Like we had one of the best teams in the league, and I'm not saying it would be easy to repeat. Definitely not. I think there was a lot of favorable things that happened to us that year, meta wise. But when you're at the top, you want to stay at the top. And frankly, I was probably due a pay raise. Everybody on the team was, and I imagine we probably would have gotten it if we had, if the Overwatch League had survived another year. So yeah, of course I was upset. Like financially, like it was a major blow. Like I'm
Of course.
down. If I had to put a number on it, I'm probably down like $100,000 just off of not having that year worth of work, because that was just to be transparent with people. I was making $70,000 that year, um, plus the prize pool that I received for all the wins that we had. Yeah, I probably made over $100,000 that year, and that's not. I just probably would have made that again the next year. So yeah,
Yeah.
like
It's a lot of money. Good. It's good money.
sentiment wise, like yeah, I love the Overwatch League, and I would have loved to have stayed, but for me, it was mainly a financial
Right.
loss that really hurt. Um, I love the Overwatch League. It was a lot of fun, but yeah, like it's something I'm good at too. Like I don't know if I'll ever be as good at Overwatch coach or anything else than I am Overwatch coaching. Um, and I don't know if that is a good thing or if it makes me upset. Like I don't know how I feel about it, because like it's such a niche skill to have. Like I have, I like if I want to be good at like the best at something, I have to stay within Overwatch. Like that's how I see it at the moment. And I'm not saying I can't be good at something else. I've thought about going to different games. I've thought about doing other stuff. Like I love Apex. I played Apex for a bit for the people that really followed me. I wanted to make Apex work, but I just don't think there'll be anything I'll be as good at as Overwatch. So yeah, it was upsetting. I lost a big part of me and who I am and how I identified myself. Like it was so much easier to explain to people what I did for work when the
Yeah,
Overwatch League existed.
for sure.
There was this big corporation I could put my name next to and say, yeah, I work for this and they do this. And now it's kind of like, yeah, I have UCI, which is I love UCI. I love the work that I do there. It's been really helpful, but it's only part time. So for the people that like don't really understand the financial situation, like I'm not making as much as I should be as a 27-year-old man. Um, and that's worrying for me. Uh, so it's hard to say how much longer I'll be around. I love Overwatch, and like I said, I'll never be as good at anything else as I am this, but got to be an adult at some point in my life.
Right.
And
Right.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I
Obviously,
think
we're kind of
like you were saying before, like I don't know, near the start of this, but your realism with yourself and like realizing where you are, I think is quite valuable. You don't
yeah,
seem to be a person that's like head in the clouds kind of thing, which is good, especially in esports. You can't be head in the clouds, otherwise you're going to get fucked
yeah.
pretty quickly. Speaking of OWCS, I did want to quickly mention and like quickly talk about. You don't have to talk about it a ton, but the whole M80 WD40 like LFO kind of situation, because it was funny in a weird, like kind of like sad way. Like again, Overwatch League, all these like teams, and then it was like, oh shit, like M80 are coming in. This is fucking awesome. And then it all blew up. WD obviously now they're not fielding a roster for this split. And it was like half a roster, but then it wasn't, then it was, and it was all over the place at the very start of the WCS. And I don't know what you can kind of say about it, but kind of lead us through your perspective from that.
Yeah, so like I could like go to the start. Like we were talking about like the uncertainty after Overwatch League, and there was like the rumblings of once the OWCS like got announced, like there was like rumblings of like who was sticking around, and I think the big one was Toronto. Everyone kind of knew Toronto was the first to the table. They already had a coach. They had announced that they were going to stick around. So like everyone was trying to get their piece of Toronto pie. And once like I realized like they weren't going to hire a second coach, really, like or at least a full time guy. There's a lot of uncertainty because at that point you kind of have to like stick your name to a roster that isn't signed. And that's not to say I don't have friends, but I don't really know people like that where their first thought is putting me as the coach. So there was a lot of uncertainty, and I had just like kind of like threw out feelers. I was talking to Seeker a lot, and Seeker wanted to get me into the. I don't know. I don't remember what they wanted to call themselves before it became an M80, but like, I know they were talking to orgs, they were talking to Space Station, they were talking M80. Space Station ended up going with the London roster, and obviously we got talking to M80. That's like when they started talking to M80, it's like kind of when I slid myself in there, and I don't want to say I snaked Wheats, but I kind of did. I like listen. I felt like I had to put myself first there. I felt like I needed to be a part of a roster. Whether it was part of an org or not, them it being a part of M80, which is the bonus. I needed to put my name on something and say like, hey, like I'm still coaching. I'm a head coach. I need to progress my career. So I didn't really have a lot of say into what kind of roster was created. It was just the team that was there. I didn't have a lot of say, a lot of power, but I got to be head coach, so fine. I'm happy with that. I can work off that. M80 got signed. And to be clear, from the very first meeting, it was very obvious that the reason they were in Overwatch was for EWC and not the intentions out of their good heart and they loved Overwatch. It was more so like, we want another title. We're willing to give this a chance. That's about it, really. They were pretty clear. It was pretty EWC centric as to why they were signing the team. Yeah, and then like the whole thing went down. I don't know. Sam got canceled for good reason, obviously. Kaluge was already not wanting to play because of the meta at the time. It was like a Doom Echo Tracer meta. He didn't want to play Doom. We didn't have a Tracer player, so he wasn't motivated. So when Sam got canceled, he was like, oh, well, this is a perfect opportunity for me to leave because this team's going to be worse. Honestly, this is like such a trauma-inducing like moment in my life. Like
I'm sorry
don't
for
remember.
bringing it up.
No, it's fine. It's fine. But I'm just saying, like, I don't remember the timeline exactly.
Bro.
Like, genuinely, there was so much going on within that like 3 to 4 hour period.
Yeah,
I don't know how it went down exactly.
Crazy. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
It was pure chaos. Like for people that don't understand, I literally tweeted LFT on Twitter looking for Flex EPS. Like, you know how desperate I had to be to find somebody off of Twitter? I combed through like 80, 90 DMs and like 98% of it was pure garbage. Like, gold players were messaging me. I'm like, what are you messaging me for? Like, I'm obviously not talking about you. Like, no disrespect, but like, yeah, that was a waste of time. I shouldn't even have done that, but I was desperate, man. We had like 30 minutes of the deadline, and I was like, anybody that's at least half decent will work. And then obviously, like, we were getting, I don't want to use word getting snaked, but we were getting snaked. I don't blame the people that snaked us. Gators roster, I don't blame them at all. An opportunity presented for them to take M80. If it were me, I would do the same thing. So, yeah. I don't know. That day was awful. I don't think on it too much anymore, but it was just terrible, man. And I don't have anything nice to say about M80, to be honest. Like, I'm sure Gators roster probably feels fine about M80, but me, like, I felt like they weren't clear with me at all. I felt like I was getting told a different story than what they really wanted. Because from what I heard, like, I was talking to Sicko, however you say his name, the head of esports, and he was like, yeah, listen, no big deal. You find 2 players, you'll be fine. But as I was doing all of that work and busting my ass and trying to find them a roster, they were like the owner, Marco, was talking to Gator. And then he went on Twitter and was like lying about the roster, and it didn't sit right with me at all. Like, he was saying like Kaluge was like the in-game leader, and that's so unbelievably far from the truth. It just made me so angry. Like, so yeah, I have nothing nice to say about M80. I don't care if I burn a bridge. I don't care if they don't like me, frankly. I don't appreciate how they handled it at all. I'm usually pretty good at forgiving after a while, but I don't know if I want to forgive that. Like, I forgave Valiant when I felt like they dropped me. I forgave Florida. I came back and worked with them, but M80, like, I never felt like I was lied to by Valiant or by Mayhem. I was lied to by M80. multiple times, and yeah, fuck them.
Well, to end it on more of a like non-traumatic note, Gravy, what is the like best highlight of your career that you'd say? That could be obviously coach, player, all the above. Like, what would you say is the like number one highlight for you?
I could do like for each, I guess. For
Sure,
player, I
as a
think.
player than a coach, yeah.
Yeah. I think for me as a, it's so strange because I never had like a ton of like actual success as a player. For me, it was probably the Dallas LAN that we had for season 3 when I played. The Kai roster. We played against Vancouver. We lost 0-3, but I felt like my individual performance was really well, and then was really good. Was really good. And then beating Dallas on stage, and like the way I played the game was so like unorthodox. I feel like I played Diva in a way where like I didn't play for myself really at all. I didn't play for my stats or how I looked. I inted at the other DPS so Kai could carry me, and for me like that just like spoke to like my mentality and like how willing I was able to accept like just being a team player and playing to win and not playing for myself. So for me, like I didn't make any crazy highlight plays that match, but I was playing in the way that best enabled our best player to win us the game. So for me, that's like it wasn't a big highlight moment, but it was me like showing how emotionally intelligent I was to just accept that I wasn't the best player on the team, and I played in a way to set up the hitscan god. Um, so yeah, Kai carrying me was probably my highlight of my career. It sounds really bad, but yeah, I think that for me, that's like being able to swallow my ego and play the game that way and be a team that I at a time had a grudge with because I felt like I should have been promoted to Dallas Fuel, and then I got to beat that team. Um, It was a super sweet moment. I got to go up on stage, talk shit in front of the whole crowd. For me, that was me as a player in like one match. So I think that for me as a player, and then um, as a coach, I mean, I have to
The
say win the
obvious,
championship.
yeah, of course.
I can't say anything else. Like because like to like put context to like winning the championship, I feel like the coach work that me and Gumbo like the legwork that we did to prepare us for that meta. I think I can't speak to other people's coaching performances, but for me, it's like the best coaching performance of all time. Because going into that, we were so far ahead of everybody else. Like we had the meta read, we had the best characters, we knew how to play, and we knew what counters people could potentially bring. And if people brought those counters, we knew what swaps to make to already beat those counters. Like by the grand finals, Houston was still playing catch up, and we knew they
Right.
were playing catch up, and we knew what to do to counter them playing catch up. Houston stood zero chance in the finals. Genuinely zero chance. And I know Gumba is a very divisive figure. I don't think you'll care. He is an asshole, 100%. He's an asshole. He knows he's an asshole. But he is, in my mind, the smartest Overwatch coach ever. I don't think there's anybody who knows the game better than Gumba. And I think me and him were a really good duo. I think uh, I helped him on the emotional, like intelligence side. I knew how to manage player personalities. Granted, we had a pretty good team, anyways, like emotionally wise. On a tangent here, I heard Unser talking on the Uncoachable podcast about why Crazy Raccoon might be a dynasty, and it's because all their players are good guys, and there's not really anybody there to blow it up. And I feel the exact same way about Season 6 Florida Mayhem. Like,
Right. Okay.
there was nobody on that team that caused drama, really. All the drama came from Gumba, and we were able to solve that all the time. So everyone was able to like the season 6 Mayhem was able to like to band together as well as they did because nobody liked Gumba. So all of that energy was directed to him. So he was able to like he's able to accept that and tank it, and I'm able to like to filter out what does and does not make sense to be mad about. And the players were always ready to play. There was never a distraction. There was never any internal team drama between the teammates. Everyone's a good guy. Rupel, Chorong, someone like everyone on that team is either quiet like Merit or a good person and a good teammate. So there was never any drama like that, and that's why I think like I was so upset losing that team because we could have gone again and done it again because we had the players for it. We had the personalities for it. We had the mentality. We had the talent. Like, yeah, I mean, it has to be winning the championship. I don't know. For me, it was like the perfect team, the perfect set of circumstances. Couldn't wish it for anything more as a coach. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think that's a very obvious answer, but it makes sense. It checks
Yeah.
out. It adds up. I mean, that championship win. Oh man, it feels like looking back at it, I'm like that was the greatest championship I think of all time. But then it's like the doubt. Oh my god, the fuel win though when it went to 7, that was an insane game. But I don't know, there's something special about that one. Probably because it is the last one. But yeah, seeing Florida Mayhem win, it's because you had personalities on the team as well. Like everybody loves
Yeah.
someone.
Yeah.
Like someone as just a human being is very lovable. I think from the audience perspective, from like the broadcast perspective as well, and like. I don't know, seeing him win, especially for me at least, was like, god damn. Like, it felt good. It felt real good.
Yeah. It felt perfect because like someone as a player was like the core of like how me and Gumman wanted to coach a team anyways. Like
Right.
genuinely, like the Florida Mayhem never would have come together the way it did without someone. Like not to like not belittle, like to play down everybody else's accomplishments on that roster, but like for us, like me and Gumba, like someone is our greatest success because we would not have been able to coach the way we wanted to and gameplay the way we wanted to if someone wasn't on the team. You put any other tank on that roster and our results are worse. For sure.
Interesting.
Because me and Gumba, like even with like top end talent, our mentality was like, if we're worse at something, just don't play it.
Right.
And I think that really showed at midseason madness when we got third. That's not a meta we shouldn't have got third in. We were terrible at Sombra Tracer. Like we were just straight up not a good team at Sombra Tracer. So we didn't play it. It was as simple as that. Like that's just like the mindset that me and Gumba had. Like if we're not gonna be number one at it, don't play it. So having someone on the team to be able to facilitate playing how we wanted to play was critical. And the fact that he was a good person makes it even better. Like if someone was a flaming toxic piece of garbage, it would not have mattered because me and Gumba would have accepted that and dealt with that because he was that critical to how we wanted to play the game.
Right. And it just so happens, super nice guy, really lovable on camera, really just happy all the time. And like, yeah, I mean, I think Toronto, they'd probably say the same. I think they're pretty lucky to have him on the team.
Yeah.
Like, even seeing him win on stage, like EWC and stuff like that, you know, and he's busting out the fucking moves every single time the camera's on him. Yeah, exactly. It's just so sick, man. And I've spoken about this a lot with even like Scott or like Johnny and stuff like that. Like, especially in the early Overwatch League, there wasn't as much. No, not in the early Overwatch League. There was an early Overwatch League, but when I joined 2020, maybe I was maybe it was my fault. Maybe I zapped all the fucking aura from everybody, but like the personalities didn't really shine. Didn't help that COVID had kind of happened, etc. But like it was nice to see at the very end, the Overwatch League, like big personalities still kind of step up. And someone was definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Is one final thing, I suppose. Is there anything you kind of want to get off your chest or anything you want to say to the audience out there and like people out there that may have been following your career even through the the small Apex times as well? Is there anything you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, I've got some ride or dies, man. Like there's not a ton of people that like pop into my streams, but there's like 10 people within my community that like always show out. And like you as a streamer, you also probably have those kind of people that like no matter what you're doing, like I don't think they understand like how much they meant to me and still mean to me. Like I could not stream for like 4 months and I'll turn on the stream and within like 3 minutes they're there. And it's like knowing you have people that really don't know, like not say know anything about you, but like don't know you like that, be able to support like that means a lot. Yeah, I don't know. Like I've got some sick supporters because I've done everything at this point. I mean, I was a Contenders player, and then I was an Overwatch League player, and then I got cut, and then I was back, and I got cut again, and then I was a coach, and then maybe I want to play Apex. Oh man, never mind. The
You won the Overwatch
coaching
League.
makes sense.
Yeah.
And then I won the Overwatch League, and then I
Yeah.
got cut, and now I'm doing collegiate. So like I've done everything, man. Like, and now now I was an analyst on.
Yeah,
on
you're a
Dev,
talent
like,
as well. You've
yeah,
done
I was
everything.
talent. So like, I don't know. I just had an incredible amount of support, and I don't know. Yeah, like me being realistic and swapping and doing a little bit of everything is really helped me out in my career. I don't think I'd be here if I wasn't so realistic with myself. Yeah, I want to stay in Overwatch. I don't know what else to say. I'll do just about anything. I love this game. It didn't start me loving this game, but it's slowly crept into my heart and
now it's a part of
hasn't
you.
left. I like to put it this way, for people that don't understand how much I love this game, like I love FPS, but I just cannot bring myself to play anything else. Like I enjoy Valorant, but I can never play it like I do Overwatch. I can't ever go back and just queue up some ranked and play. Like to this day, like even if I don't stream it, like I still play Overwatch. And when I'm bored and my back's against the wall and I don't know what to do,
Play
Overwatch has my back every single time. So yeah, I love this game. I don't want to leave. Pay me, please.
Yeah.
Please, anything,
Someone get this boy paid.
I just need a little bit, just a little bit of help. Like I would love to coach OWCS. I want to say that. It just financially does not make sense at the moment. Like the amount of work and time and effort that goes into it. It's just like I don't want to be greedy, but like $1,000 a month is just not enough. Like
right.
I made more like working for like a tier 4 org. It's just hard for me to accept. And maybe that's my ego talking. Like I did just win the Overwatch League. I think $1,000 a month's a little low. But yeah, I want to stay in Overwatch. I would love to still coach. I'll do more talent work if that's what is, if that's open. Like I just want to stay in Overwatch. Plain simple.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I love this game.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to end it. Gravy, thank you for coming on and chatting with me about everything about your career and stuff. It's been interesting because there's lots of facts that I didn't know either, and interesting drama from back in the day is always fun to hear about because
I love drama.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I'm a human being, man. What's not to like about drama?
Hey, since the dawn of time, humans have loved drama and knowing what thy neighbor is doing. It do be like that. Yeah, thank you so much, and we'll catch you all next time, and that's about it.